Yo, what is going on, Comfy Gang? It's your boy, Comfy Neat. And I think for this video, I'm just going to be doing a brief reflection, basically giving my thoughts on the year 2020. A lot has happened this year that has been pretty significant for most people. And I'm just going to be talking about a lot of that stuff, how it relates to NEETS, and as well as sharing some of the more personal things that have been going on in my life during this year and my own personal observations about myself and about what it's been like being a NEET for almost 4 years now. Well, basically 4 years already. So anyways, without further ado, let's start the video. So 2020 has been a pretty interesting year, as I've said. One of the obvious things that has affected most people is the COVID pandemic. I'm pretty sure if the COVID pandemic didn't happen, then I would basically just say that this year has been pretty much the same as every other year in my life. But the pandemic has basically, I feel, changed, in my opinion, has changed the overall awareness of the state of NEETdom and hickeys and NEETs and the whole lifestyle about being unemployed, because the pandemic really forced a lot of people out of their ordinary daily wage slave routines, work life routines, or whatever. Although it hasn't really done the same for me, but I definitely noticed that, for example, the r/NEET subreddit grew quite a bit over this time period. I know that some of the people that I've talked to online have basically stated that they only became really aware of NEETs and hickeys only after the pandemic started and, became exposed to this sort of culture. And overall, I'd say, it's been kind of a meme that, the COVID pandemic is basically what NEETs have been training for their entire lives, like all this time spent rotting away, consuming media endlessly, lying in bed all day, being on my phone, sitting in a chair, playing games, and been training my pecs and my abs to get extra tight, so I'm always permanently slouched with no effort required. All of that has been training for this moment where NEETs would ascend and inherit the earth, as all the normies and wages would all die off and or lose their minds as the COVID pandemic swept across the world and left millions unemployed, exposing them for the first time to what NEETs have been living through for anywhere from, I don't know, years or even decades for some NEETs. And that that whole Batman quote by Bane, where he says, you merely adopt the dark, but I was born by it, molded by it. I never saw the light until I was a man. And whatever that quote is from The Dark Knight Rises, I think. It's The Dark Knight Rises, right? Yeah. It's Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, that quote where he basically says that stuff, I feel like a lot of NEETs could probably relate to that to an extent. Obviously, I'm kind of shitposting when I think like that or say that. I kind of think like that humorously, but I definitely do know that a lot of NEETs probably felt that way, a sense of almost pride and maybe a bit of I don't know what the right word is, disgust, indignation at the, fragility of most quote unquote normal. I'm not going to say the word normal blank. If you're a NEET, you probably know what the word is. Although I am pretty normie myself, but I'm not going to lie. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some sort of pride in the fact that I could basically survive through 10 pandemics, 10 lockdown periods. I could, for all I care, COVID could last for the rest of my life. There could be a new pandemic every single year and lockdowns every month. And honestly, if I'm being honest, it's not optimal, but I could definitely survive through it. So, I mean, I definitely took a little bit of pride in that, and I'm sure most NEETs did, because as disgusting as that sounds, and I know how terrible the lockdown and COVID is, but I mean, NEETs don't really have a lot going for them, so I guess it's their instinct to latch on to whatever they could take pride in, whatever could boost their self-esteem. Obviously, I was kind of being ironic when I thought like that and when I say things like that, but I'm pretty sure there's some truth behind that feeling. So anyways, that's COVID. And aside from that, like I was saying, I brought a lot of awareness to the whole NEET situation. And I'm pretty sure there will only be more awareness with time as, things like automation and AI develop further and basically displace a lot of the workforce. I think, as well as the fact that many companies have probably changed their internal structure and have been relying less on in-person labor and more on remote work, probably because it's a lot cheaper than renting offices, and people waste time in the office anyways. They'll find a way to waste time. So I think a lot of companies have wisened up to that fact and have thought to themselves, if they're going to waste time anyways in the office, we might as well just let our employees stay at home. So remote work is becoming a lot more common, and I feel like it will only get more and more common as, businesses continue to close down or restructure to save money and all that. Obviously, I have no understanding of economic principles. This is just me talking out of my ass, but that's my opinion on that. And I don't feel like society will move back to the old way of things, and the whole rise of remote work, I feel, although remote workers aren't technically NEETs, I feel like they are pseudo NEETs in a way, because a lot of people who are inclined to remote work tend to have NEET-ish tendencies anyway, or tend to be, predisposed to being NEET, or meet many of the risk factors of being NEET, which I talked about in a different video, as well as the fact that I feel like they're more, if anything, a lot of them have the potential to become hickeys, because hickeys can work, but it's the fact that they're isolated in their room all day. Hickeys are allowed to make money, NEETs aren't allowed to make money, so to be considered NEET technically. So yes, but I feel like there's a lot of similarities between NEETs and hickeys, so that's my opinion on that. So anyways, enough about the whole macro perspective on 2020, and now I'm going to talk about my own personal observations about myself during this year. And there's not really much to say except the fact that another year has flown by and almost nothing has changed in my life. If I'm being truly honest with myself, I think about the exact same time last year, I was telling myself that 2020 would be the year that I ascend, and I'm still young. I'm still in my early mid-20s. I say early mid-20s, but really I'm in my mid-20s already. And I was telling myself that, this year would be the year that I ascended, that I changed, that I got rid of my social anxiety, that I became a functioning member of society, found a way to make money online and all that. I had all these lofty goals that I set for myself, and none of them have pretty much been achieved, unfortunately. But it's not like I haven't made any progress. I feel, making slow and steady progress in some areas. Like, for example, the boxing and MMA stuff, I really have improved my punching power to an extent. I don't think I could beat anybody in a fight 100% or even 80% yet, but I do feel like my chances of winning a street fight with a random person, even someone slightly bigger than me, maybe went up from, let's say, 10% to like 50%. Maybe not 10, maybe like 30% to 50%, because I can actually hit pretty hard without a lot of effort. If I sucker punch somebody in the chin, I'm pretty sure I could knock out most people. That's not to say I could land anything in an actual fight, but I think that's something to be proud of, I guess. Another thing is that I have been learning guitar recently over the past maybe 2 months, and I have come a decent way since starting. I know a lot of basic chords, so there's that. But as far as like my music production goes, it almost feels like I'm always taking 1 step forward and 2 steps backward. And maybe that's just all in my subjective opinion, because as some have pointed out, I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist or an overthinker. So that is something that I'll need to work on. I'll probably talk about it in my New Year's resolution video, which I'll record tomorrow. But yeah, aside from that, I haven't really made that much progress. I feel like I've improved ever so slightly in numerous areas of my life, but it almost feels like I still feel like I'm always maybe 10 steps behind everybody else. And while I am improving, I'm not improving fast enough, and it feels like society, the world, my peers, time, everything seems to be outrunning me faster than I can move. So the question in my mind is whether this is all in my head and that I'm actually improving at the pace that I should be. Maybe everything is meant to be the way it is as far as my progress goes, as far as my existence goes even. Maybe I'm just destined to be a NEET, or maybe I will ascend one day and I am on the right track and I just need to keep at it. Or maybe I do need to kick my ass into shape and get my shit together. So that's one of these questions that has been always bothering me. One thing that I have noticed is that I am starting to get injured, minor injuries, but I am getting injured a lot more, and I am noticing that my body tends to ache just a little bit more each year. I felt it especially more so this year. I feel like I am less and less able to get away with a lot of the things that I used to get away with before, like bad posture and bad diet. If I eat something really unhealthy, like, I don't know, a McGangbang, which is basically a junior chicken sandwich in between a Big Mac and like a large fries and a milkshake, which I have eaten maybe once this year. But if I eat something really unhealthy, it's really greasy, I will feel extremely lethargic. I also am noticing that I am getting tireder and tireder. I am having less and less energy, and life certainly isn't getting easier. I used to always tell myself at the back of my head, one day I'm just gonna break out of my laziness, my depression. I'll become a hardworking person. I will suddenly flip a switch and everything will be good and I'll be able to be motivated. But let me tell you, I haven't shown any signs of motivation my entire life. And let me tell you that as far as the raw energy goes, it definitely does not get easier with time. Now that I think back on it in retrospect, I definitely had a lot more energy when I was younger, even maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's just that that energy was being wasted on things like addictions and, I don't know, cooming and video games and useless crap. My emotional energy, my emotions, and being all pent up and emotional about things that didn't matter. It was all being wasted on that crap. And now that I'm getting older and reaching my mid-20s, I am starting to notice that my energy is finite, that I'm needing to sleep more and more, that I can't get away with sleeping later at these really weird hours, and that my bad sleep schedule is starting to catch up with me. So, and my diet too. So I'm basically becoming more and more aware of my own mortality. So I think that is both a good thing and a bad thing, because it's bad because it's kind of regretful that I couldn't have spent all that energy and time pursuing something meaningful while I was younger. But maybe things are panning out as it should, and that maybe this decrease in energy and this new awareness of the finite nature of my willpower and my motivation, my energy, is basically starting to, maybe scare me into shape. It's starting to force me to pay more attention to what's important to me in my life, what things affect me positively and negatively, and and basically making me treasure my time and myself more, because it's just the passage of time is becoming more and more salient, more and more obvious to me as I grow older. So that is one of the things that I have noticed, especially this year. I don't know if it's a product of my biology. Like once you pass a certain age, you start to become more and more aware of the passage of time, or if it's just maybe my own personal realizations. But that's what I have basically become really aware of this year in 2020. And I'm hoping that next year is a year where I will begin to manage my quote-unquote resources, the things that I have access to, a lot more wisely. That's definitely one of my biggest hopes. Again, I'll talk about that in my next video, which is going to talk about my New Year's resolutions. But as far as other realizations go, I also realized a lot of things about myself. I will say that 2020 has been good in the sense that I made this channel and exposed myself to the outside world. And although it does have its downsides sometimes, I feel like overall it has been a good thing, exposing myself out there, to have a social circle again, even if it's just an online one, because I feel like it is good to get feedback from the outside world, practice socializing. And although people don't tell you directly, they actually do give you feedback about yourself. They actually do tell you things about yourself if you just pay attention to the way they behave around you. And I feel like me isolating myself for all these years has definitely been a negative, because it kind of trapped me in this sort of delusions that I was living, these delusions of, I'm not going to say grandeur, but safety, I guess, comfiness, that in my head that everything was fine. Like, that meme where the dog is like, everything is fine as the room is burning around him. That was basically me before I made this channel and exposed myself to the outside world and went on Discord and talked to people. I really have learned a lot about myself. I'm pretty sure I figured out the underlying mental illness that I suffer from thanks to talking to people. No one told me directly, but I sort of figured it out. And that's something that I'll talk about in the future as well. And yeah, but I'm thankful that I got to meet a lot of people. So I think that's, again, a good thing about 2020, making this channel. And yeah, as far as other realizations go, I can't really think of anything. This video is probably pretty long anyways, and if I can remember anything else while editing this, well, I'm not even going to edit this. I'm just going to upload it straight from my phone because, well, actually I'll edit it, whatever. Anyways, this is Comfy NEET signing out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you guys liked this content, and peace.